quorum. We do need a quorum, which for us is about 60 people, and we have well over that. Now, you might be wondering, why are we here? Well, you know it has something to do with the capital campaign. Last summer, the Stewardship Committee approached the council about doing a capital campaign, and the council gives the campaign its blessings. We have passed a resolution that we conduct a capital campaign, and 𝗟𝗂𝗿 has agreed to be the chairman of the committee, and he will explain some things, answer some questions, and then I'm going to ask for your approval also. Okay, Jared?
Well, thanks, Cliff, and good morning, everybody. 𝗟𝗂𝗿. I have the privilege of being the chair for this very important project for our congregation and for our community. I know we're loading the slide here shortly. We do have just a short presentation to identify some of the highlights and the primary components associated with the campaign. All right, so Cliff did a great job of providing some background about the needs for this particular campaign. As he indicated, stewardship did approach the council, but prior to that happening, we have some great servants on the property committee. They do a fantastic job keeping an eye on our building, on our grounds. It's a huge building, huge grounds, lots of needs throughout the entire campus. And they identified some needs that definitely need to be addressed, as you'll see in some of these pictures that we move forward with this morning. So as Cliff mentioned, council approved seeking the assistance of a consultant, Brenda Moore and Associates. Brenda works with her associate Nick. We have met with them on a number of occasions here. Shortly after the project leadership committee was formed, there was a significant amount of analysis that went into what we believe the campaign goal should be. Brenda and Nick did a fantastic job. They reviewed giving, they reviewed previous capital campaigns, and together with them, the leadership committee identified some goals associated with this campaign that are included in the resolution for you today. And then, as Cliff indicated, council called a congressional meeting, and the purpose of that meeting today is to provide information regarding the campaign and answer any questions that you might have. So there are three primary focuses associated with this. The first being the building and grounds, both interior and exterior. The second continued important component is the debt reduction. And then lastly, as we have as a congregation for many years, supported the missions both within and without of this congregation. So the first focus area, building and grounds, and we've identified some estimated costs associated with each of these components, and thanks once again to the property committee that's put in an enormous amount of work to make these estimates possible and ultimately bring the needs that we have around here to the attention of our council and stewardship committee. So exterior, we have some brick issues, 3 courses of brick that need to be replaced in certain locations, stucco, electrical boxes, AC units. I think we've all seen the steeple, parking lot lights, and then also included in the building exterior portion is an electrical sign. I'm sure you've all seen an example of that as you drove up to worship here this morning. And then interior, We have identified some needs for a preschool area. The kitchen's been talked about numerous times, and then the dishwasher. So we'll move into the pictures of the first items. Apologize for the color up there, but I think we all know what the exterior of the church looks like in terms of color. But I think most importantly, that upper left picture, you can see even on the one below it, we've got brick that is failing. And then that's definitely something that needs to be taken care of as part of this project. Stucco, as we drive around our church, we can see the stucco, the black deficiencies that are making the stucco fail. Electrical boxes, the insurance company doing their audits identified that some of the electrical boxes installed within the building no longer met code as it related to some fuses that needed to be replaced, which precipitated the requirement for the entire electrical box to be replaced. Some of that work has been done, but nonetheless there is a cost associated with it, and that needs to be covered as part of the project. AC units, I don't know how many of us really go back and look at the AC units on a regular basis, but I do know that in the middle of summer I'm very grateful that they are working. These units are old, and our property committee has indicated that they will fail at some point, and we definitely do need to be prepared to replace them. The steeple, I think most of us have seen the steeple. The paint is flaking off. The cross on the top is bent. And so as a focal point and great managers of this gift that we've been giving in these grounds, it's definitely important that we take care of that. Parking lots. The south parking lot, as we enter the south area of the church, that's in pretty good shape. That's the newest one, so that requires the least amount of work. As you move to the north side, I think we've all walked on it, we've driven over it, and we all know that there is some water problems at the very north door. Water sits there. So what's being contemplated for the parking lots is the north one, essentially grinding it all up, reshaping it so we don't have the water issues. We don't have the water running towards the north door and getting it all sloped away from the building, so that we can better protect not only the building but also the parking lot surface. And then the newer portion of the parking lot on the south side would have a much less intensive fix, just rejuvenating that surface. But the north end, and it's clear to see when you're out there, you can see where that dividing line is. It's almost directly right behind me. So that requires some work. Parking lot lighting, I don't know if you guys have noticed, typically we're here a lot during the day, but there are some parking lot lights that are out, and LED lights provide energy savings, and moving forward the bulbs last a lot longer too. So we have identified the potential for some potential electrical rebates associated with our electrical company. And if this project moves forward, we'll definitely pursue those. With the reduction in power needed to power our sodium lights that are in the parking lot and converting them to LED, that would provide an opportunity for the existing power source to power a new electric sign. We have one very dedicated individual within this congregation that spends an enormous amount of time changing the message on that sign weekly through wind, snow, rain, you name it. We also have the, I don't know if you want to call it a problem, but we have the problem that some people, as they go by, whether on foot or car, like to change those letters around from time to time. And it creates some less than appealing welcoming to our congregation. So That's just an example of a potential electrical sign that could be placed at the corner in place of that existing sign trailer. The example you saw as you walked in, and if you didn't walk in this door, and I shouldn't assume everybody did, that's just the door I walk in, but there is a sign, an example of what that signage board might be if this should all move forward. So the preschool remodel, 𝗬𝘂𝗿 and 𝗦𝘂𝗽𝗍𝗍 are looking at, 𝗦𝘂𝗽𝗍𝗍 and Wilmer are looking at a partnership to bring a preschool to this building, to this space. Council is working on that. That's not necessarily part of the stewardship committee or this immediate process, other than the fact that there are specific requirements indicated or dictated by code that need to be met to bring that space up into the usable form that they need to conduct a preschool in there. There's a lot of details associated with that, and I'm sure Cliff can answer those questions for you after this meeting. But just know that the partnership is being explored. Preschools and before and after child care service are definitely a need in this community. We have an amazing facility on that north end where our Sunday school students are currently. Some of you sitting in here this afternoon probably went to school there too. I've spoken with a number of people that actually had second grade in that wing. Ultimately, as times change, things need to be updated and improved, and quite frankly, it provides an opportunity for us to help out the community, and it's not free. Those details of the agreement are being worked out, but there would be income generated as part of that. But before that income can be generated, that remodel needs to be completed. Kitchen remodel, I think we're all familiar with the kitchen and how long that has been discussed, and the many benefits that could be provided should that remodel be completed. I think we have all noticed, and it was amazing last Sunday during the omelet breakfast, that you could actually see the faces of the individuals that were volunteering in that kitchen rather than just their arms as they passed you a plate of food. So just by removing those few cabinets has made a major improvement, and I think we can continue to improve that kitchen and help it better serve our needs of this congregation. Dishwasher, that dishwasher is very old. We've been making improvements or repairs to it on an as-needed basis, most recently as last Sunday when it broke down during the large omelet breakfast. So far we've been able to put the Band-Aids on this thing, but again, being proactive and being managers of the resources God's entrusted us, we need to plan for the future and make sure that the funding is available to replace that dishwasher, which will be needed. Second focus area, also an important area for this campaign, is the mortgage debt reduction. The congregation has made amazing strides in reducing that reduction. I think from the last campaign we were somewhere around that $1.3 million range. In 14, 15, and 16, that was reduced to just north of $600,000. Our current mortgage is at $490,000, and the interest rate currently is 5.25%. That will increase next June. I think we all are aware of the increasing mortgage interest rates. And the other item, any new mortgage borrowing would be at a 7% rate. So the second primary focus area to include the mortgage debt reduction. And then the third component, as I indicated earlier, the congregation has been very generous in keeping an eye on missions and keeping them as a focus of our congregation and our tithing. You'll see the numerous organizations and events that the congregation participates in and with: Feed My Starving Children, the shoe boxes, Sunbeam, quilts, you name it. very mission-focused congregation. And one thing that I did want to point out in the mission committee or Missions of Peace committee, this isn't being looked at as supporting new missions, but rather keeping the focus on the existing missions that we have. So that was a question at one of our earlier information sessions the last couple of weeks, so I wanted to point that out. And so at this point, that's a background of the 3 primary areas identified with this project and the projects that encompass them. And I'd be happy to answer any questions at this point. The resolution that is being considered, and I'll read it for all of you here. Ultimately, the Peace Lutheran Council recommends that the congregation adopt a minimum campaign goal of $750,000 and a challenge goal of $950,000. That would allot up to $450,000 for near-term capital repairs and improvements, reduce the mortgage, and distribute 10% of all gifts received to select mission partners. In addition, legacy gift commitments for the Peace Lutheran Church endowment will be invited and counted as over and above gifts. Any questions for me? All right. Thanks, Cliff.
Thank you, Jared. Okay, what I would like you to do is give us a voice vote, whether you think we should proceed with this or not. Jared did a very nice job, I think, of laying out the situation. Are there any final questions? Now, the resolution, as you saw, is the motion. And my understanding is, since the council has adopted that motion, then that becomes the second. So we have a motion and we have a council second, and I'm going to ask for a voice vote. All in favor, aye or yes? How about no? It's the same, no. So can I assume that this is approved? And what you're approving is that the council move forward with what Jared just presented. Can I make that assumption? Okay. Now, we need a motion to adjourn. Will somebody make a motion to adjourn? Okay, motion over there. Do we have a second? Second, we got lots of seconds. I'm going to ask, if you've been on the church council, it's our policy to always end with the Lord's Prayer. So maybe if one of the pastors is here, Pastor Todd or Pastor Linda. Pastor Linda, Pastor Todd, could you lead us in the Lord's Prayer? And I think, like I said, if you've been on the church council, you know that's council tradition. We end all our meetings with the Lord's Prayer.
Let us pray together. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.